We all want to build wealth. Yeah. If you say you don't, then I'm going to assume that you're lying, unfortunately. So we're going to watch some TikToks related to building wealth because I am all for it. I've actually been in a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a slump per se, but there's just been a couple of things that have happened in my life to where I have given more thought to my money, and it ends up putting me in a state of scarcity. I'm not gonna lie, that still happens to me. I would say the worst of it was when I first started my debt-free journey and I was like not making any money, really struggling, barely sleeping. Like that's not what's happening now. Like back then I had nothing. I was in the negative. I didn't have enough I was overdrafted in my bank account, my checking account. I didn't have an emergency fund. I was barely making any money. I had a whole bunch of debt. That is a completely different situation that I'm in now. And I can completely recognize that there's a difference between how I felt then versus how I feel now. But transparently, there are still times now where I will get in a headspace where things just feel scarce, and it's like, oh, I need to be doing more to make more money, or what am I going to do about this, or just like feeling icky about having to spend money on certain things. And really this all kind of started because of dealing with like health insurance, and I have a HMO plan, and things were not properly working with the referrals to my specialist doctor. So they're like, okay, you're probably gonna have to pay self-pay. And it's like, yeah, it just puts you into this state of like, I don't want to have to pay more money than I need to. Basically, what I'm getting at is that I think this is going to be a topic that's even really good for me to talk about right now, and just to listen to these TikToks and hear people talk about building wealth and being more abundant, because that's something I do really need right now in my life. But I initially got this idea because I posted on my YouTube channel asking if anybody had specific topics they wanted me to cover for TikTok Tuesday. And I had just posted this like within the last hour, and there's already several recommendations. So I am going to jot all of these down. Do not worry, I will probably eventually get to all of these topics just because, there's a lot of weeks in the year. But from First Gen Freedom, they suggested building wealth in your 20s and 30s, and that is exactly what I'm going to be watching on TikTok. So all I searched on TikTok was build wealth, and I'm going to just see what I end up enjoying. One other thing that's unrelated to the topic is the audio. So I've actually received a couple of comments before about how there's a difference in the audio. So like how loud I am versus the TikToks, or sometimes I'm much louder than the TikToks. It gets tricky because I am recording the audio from TikTok, right? So some of them are much louder compared to others. And I try my best when I'm editing to match the audio. Like when I look at the levels and when I'm hearing it back, it sounds fine. And I even go back through and adjust. Like, okay, if this is at a 12, like this feels too loud, I'll put it down to a 10. I put my audio a little bit louder. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that gets corrected. Maybe I need to start editing with headphones or something. I don't know if it's people consuming it through TV or consuming it through their phone or through headphones where it's worse, but somebody said that they have to like constantly adjust the volume. I know that's really annoying, so I apologize for that. Please be patient with me. I'm going to try my best. Let me know in the comments down below if it sounds any better for this one. But yeah, just know that I'm aware and I am really trying, but sometimes it's tricky. Just everybody's volume is different. But let's talk about building wealth, shall we? I'm excited. I'm excited to go down this topic and see what everybody has to say.
Started investing until 2020, and I felt very late to the game, but this is how much my account grew this year. Because I'm consistent and I'm obsessed with investing. Where do you invest? How do you invest? How do you choose what to invest in? Let's talk about it. First thing you want to do is just decide which platform you're going to use. There are so many out there. Fidelity, Charles Schwab are great. Just pick one to get started. One thing I want to say is that time in the market is so much important than timing the market. I remember when I started investing, anything seemed so high that I started putting in $30 to a low-cost mutual fund. I felt very overwhelmed because it was so high that I was just convinced it was going to crash. Historically, we've been stoked to get 8% return on our investments, but the market has been yielding closer to over 13%. I think this year to date, is closer to 20%. So I think it skews our perception of what it's supposed to look like, but we're going to have really good years and not so good years, and that's just how it works. 13% on $100 versus 13% on $1,000 or $100,000 is going to look very different. So for a while, if you're just starting, it's going to feel like nothing's happening, but it will take time. Once you get to that like $10,000, $100,000 mark, it really starts to compound. One of my favorite low-cost index funds funds is SWPPX. If you're using Charles Schwab, you can set up automatic investments, which makes it very easy. You don't even have to think about it. It's just automatically done for you. There's also VU, there's QQQ, there's SPY. There's so many low cost index funds. I'll put a few on the screen and you can kind of pick one that makes sense for you. The biggest thing you can do for yourself here is be consistent, set up reoccurring weekly investments, and don't get shy when the market tanks, and don't get shy if it seems a little high. I started investing in a mutual fund that was $30 a share. I thought that was way too high. That current share price for the same mutual fund is now over $90, and my gain is 30%, which has allowed my dollar cost average to be closer to $60-ish. So even though it feels like it's really high right now, I'm still up because I've continued to invest. I can walk you through an example if that's helpful, let me know, but I just love talking about this. One of my younger brothers is 20 years old and has over $30,000 saved because he's just listened and has been really good about sticking to these habits. And I'm just so excited for him and his financial future. Like, having an older sibling to tell me what to do or have that much money at that young of an age would have been so impactful. Just hope that this information resonates with you. You take it and you learn from it. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be rich.
True that. At the end of the day, we do all want to be rich, and there's nothing wrong with that. Money allows for opportunity. Money makes life easier. It doesn't necessarily buy happiness, but there are so many things that open up and less stress that you will experience with money. Okay, I understand that more money, more problems can be a thing too, but y'all get the idea. A couple of things that I want to say here. So I didn't start, y'all can see my investment journey on my YouTube channel. I have several videos where I talk about it. I would say I started investing seriously in maybe 2020, not even. I was still in debt. So maybe it was closer to 2021, 2022. I didn't have a 401k until 2022. And investing really is the key to growing your wealth. Yes, paying off debt is really important, and it was something I prioritized because I just don't like having debt payments. I don't ever want debt, but I understand for a lot of people that paying debt payments can be okay, but also keeping up with those investments, like investing more than you're spending, or like investing a large chunk of your income, I should say, is really going to get you far, even if you still have debt. So it's taken me several years of being consistent, just like this young lady, to get to over 6 figures in investments alone. I actually just reached that earlier this summer, which is really exciting. And in the month of July, for example, all that I invested was $625. I put $500 into my Roth IRA and then $225 into my 401k. However, my investments grew by $4,700, more than that. That's insane. That is why investing is so powerful. Now, every month is going to look different. There's times where it's going to go down, and that may feel scary. But if any of the content in this TikTok that we just watched, if it sounds overwhelming, if you are not sure what she's talking about, like you're like, what does any of that mean? You need to do research. Please just don't let another day, another week, another month pass where you're like, oh, I'll figure this out one day. If you listen to this and are questioning anything, then go back and listen to it. And I'll put her on the screen. Go back and I think I put it here. I always point to the wrong spot. I put it here. Listen to it and make sure you understand all of it and search up what you need to. She mentioned investing in Fidelity or in Charles Schwab. I prefer Vanguard. Fidelity and Charles Schwab are also great. Basically, what she's investing in is the S&P 500. So she's calling out specific funds for you that you could invest in, and each platform is going to have a different fund for you to invest in. So she had mentioned the one for Charles Schwab, while Vanguard, you could invest in VOO, for example, and that's the ETF version of the S&P 500 through Vanguard. But I absolutely love her message and her obsession with investing. It is super fun. And actually, just this last week, I decided to bump up how much I contribute to my 401k. So instead of 9%, I bumped up the total, like between, because I'm the employer and the employee, so it's still just me putting money in. Basically, I just am increasing my contributions by $25 per month. And that feels really insignificant, but also really good at the same time, because I'm not going to notice much of a difference because I put into my traditional 401k. You can do Roth 401k if you have that, it's up to you. But with the traditional, it's going to lower your tax burden. So you're really not going to feel that difference in your paycheck, especially if it's just an additional $25. But I'm going to be paying a little bit less in taxes. My paychecks may be a little bit smaller, but not by much. And then I'm investing more money, and it's just only going to help me. And I mentioned that in my newsletter, the newsletter I sent out on Friday, and was saying, like, if you're looking for a sign to increase how much you're putting to your investments or to your retirement, then let this be your sign. Like, just bump it up by 1%. You can probably handle it. You probably won't feel much of a difference. All right.
I'm doing in my 20s to build generational wealth and not have financial stress later in life. I am like a side hustle addict, so I am a server at a really nice restaurant, and for the longest time, I gave myself shit for that, when in reality, I have the best work-life balance. I have a great schedule, love my serving job, and I have so much time to do side hustles on things that I'm already doing. So I teach a workout class once a week at my local rec center. I'm a dog sitter. And I've been a social media manager for 5 years. So right there is just 4 streams of income. So I'm making a decent amount of money for my cost of living. I'm also living below my means. So I used to get my nails done and I don't anymore. I'm not into like Botox and filler. I spend where I find value, which is typically like in the gym and like wellness. So like I splurged on a nicer gym facility with like a recovery zone, save on like that aspect of beauty. I invested more into wellness. So therefore I'm like just really intentional with my spending, investing. But I wouldn't even say big. I'm just very open to learning about investing. So I just have a Roth IRA. I'm the lazy girl. I invest what I can afford. So right now I'm only doing $250 a month. And then I just do it in something easy like index funds. I honestly do it all automatically, so then in a couple years I can be like, oh my god, girl math, I got this free $100,000. And then for our first house, my fiance and I bought a duplex. So we live in one side and rent out a couponer, but only for like household essentials. So like toilet paper, razors, and like low-key personal goods and household stuff. I just use the Target app or like CVS app, and I bought it and I follow what the TikToks say. I'm really good at like hacking is I only spend credit on like the travel miles credit cards. So I will put honestly every bill that I can on these credit cards and pay it in full every month. I actually don't even know where my debit card is. It's somewhere in the house, but I have been able to take a really nice trip for me and my fiance every year, just for like our anniversary or like little trips for other things, strictly just off paying my bills, and it is the best hack ever. So I am trying to build wealth and I'm on the path, and it's really important to me to be intentional where I spend so I can shake my ass on a yacht later.
All right, there you have it. Some great tips there. Obviously, be careful with the credit cards. That's the same way that I use credit cards, and whenever I say that, people are like, get really defensive about it. Like, I understand that credit cards are not for everybody. Credit card points, some people can't use it responsibly. So just please be careful. You know yourself best, and if you find yourself just going into further debt or spending unnecessarily, then you probably can't responsibly use credit cards. But anyways, that's aside the point. I like her other tips. She's happy with the work that she's doing. She has a serving job. I think serving is underrated, personally. I used to be a server. It was my last 2 years of high school and then my first 2 years of college. Only during the summer in the first 2 years of college, because I lived on campus and had a job on campus. And I worked at an IHOP, so I feel like an IHOP, a Denny's isn't ideal, but if you can go to a place where it's like a higher end breakfast, like maybe First Watch or something like that, or somewhere that's just like focused on lunch and dinner, that's going to be your best bet. But you get money right away. So you can put that money, obviously you got to pay for what you need to pay for, but anything on top of that, or if this is like a second job for you, then you can immediately put that into the bank, put it into savings, put it toward extra debt payments, put it toward investing, whatever you want to. So it can be really powerful and often very flexible. But yeah, she has some other side hustles. So working on increasing her income, which honestly is just the key these days. Things are expensive. So you do have to live below your means, try to work on increasing your income, and then invest that difference. So again, she talked about investing too and keeping it simple. I love keeping it simple. I don't do anything complex. It's just literally the same funds every single month. You can set up auto investments, whatever you need to do.
Here's something that wealthy people specifically very much understand, and something I did not know until recently. Making more money isn't about working harder. It was really hard for me to get to $10,000 a month. That was my income goal for the longest time, and it was really hard for me to get there. But from $10,000 to $40,000 was not more work. I probably worked harder to get that first $10K month than I did to get that first $40K month. And the same will probably go for my first 100K month or, so on. When people say work smarter, not harder, it's very literal because people that are making this amount of money, it's not hours equals dollars. It's systems that you create, it's passive products that you create that are easy to multiply and make you more money without you having to put in any extra effort. When you can wrap your brain around that and change your mindset a little bit, life will change for you.
So people are commenting like, thanks for telling us nothing. And the thing is with things like this, so we all know that hard work does not equal more money. If that were the case, the people who are like out in the sun working on roofs or doing construction, I know they can make good money, but those people are working so hard, sweaty, major labor work, and they are not making that much money compared to somebody who's just like sitting behind a desk, typing in some code, and they can probably chill for a large portion of their day and they're making double or triple that money. And then of course there's outliers who do like way less work and a lot of people underneath them are doing the work for them and they just profit, but that's something that like took time for them to build. Anyway, y'all get the point. We all know that hard work does not necessarily equate to more money, and so I get where she's coming from, and I think this is kind of hard for me to even myself wrap my head around, because it's like, y'all know that my income goal has been 10K for the longest. Like I would love to make 30K in the quarter. I want to make 120,000 in the year. That's 10K per month. And I have never hit that just from my business alone. And so it just feels like I need to put in more work in order for me to get to that. And the reason that I try to resist that is I don't want to get to this point where I am like hustle, and it's not sustainable. So maybe, sure, I'm making 10, 12, 15K, but I'm having to work hours and hours and hours Monday through Sunday. I don't want to get to that point. I know that this is true, that you do not have to work. You do not have to hustle your way to rich. I know that. I think that all of this, though, is easier said than done, and it's going to take a lot more work up front in order for you to get to these higher months. And this can be scaled down, let's say if this said I worked harder for 2K months than I did for 5K months, like same idea there. It can be possible for any pay rate, and I would say any industry, really. I think entrepreneurship and like content creation, all of that there's no cap to it, but certain jobs do have caps to what you can earn. But I do believe that you have to work harder up front, and eventually you'll get to this point where it's like, okay, I'm not putting in as much effort, but I'm making more money. And figuring out how to get from point A of making the 10K month to get to 40K months is the hard part. And having the patience, the discipline, and the grit, I suppose, to get to that is difficult. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say here. I'm going to check out her page though and see what she actually does. She mentioned like having the systems in place and building a product to where it's like technically passive. You kind of have to put in the work up front, and then you have a system or something that is working in the back end where you can just repeatedly sell something and make money from it. So I'm going to check out what she does, but yeah.
Okay, one more time for the girlies who don't get it. Wealth does not create abundance. Abundance creates wealth. That means I cannot will myself, force myself, hustle my way to enough dollars that will make me feel abundant. This is because of the law of cause and effect. What is in the cause is already in the effect. Let that sink in for a moment. That means that if I'm not feeling abundant, I'm feeling scarce, and I chase wealth outside of me in order to create abundance, that's not possible, because what was in the cause, which was scarcity, will be in the effect. Anything created from scarcity will continue to feel like scarcity. For example, if I feel poor and I want to make money in order to feel not poor, getting money will only feel like the same anxiety with a different outfit on. Now I'll just feel afraid that I'm going to lose all the money. I may even get to a certain income level and still want more money. This happens to people all the time. So if more money is not going to solve the problem, then what do? We dissolve the blocks and beliefs to experiencing abundance now. What is actually stopping me from believing that I am fully safe, fully capable, fully loved, fully free, fully creative now? That's obviously not very easy, and you generally need guidance. But once I do that work, and my desire is no longer to attain abundance because I have tapped into abundance. Now I can create and attract without control, with detachment, with playfulness. And because wealth is abundance expressed, the more I can tap into this creative playfulness, this detachment, the more wealth I'm going to experience. Why? Because I'm healing my perfectionism. I'm healing my fear. I'm healing my anxiety. Nothing outside of me needs to happen anymore in order to secure myself. Everything I create is an extension and experience of myself. Everything should at this point be service-led, heart-led. And when you really think about it, the most amount of sales happen when I solve a problem and or make someone feel different.
All right, so I was literally just talking about this, like how you can't hustle your way to, what did she say? You can't hustle your way to more money. This is obviously law of attraction and manifestation. That's getting into that territory, which I love. I've just always had a hard time fully feeling a way. Honestly, I am more of a pessimist than an optimist, especially when it comes to certain things. And it's been something that's a way that I am. And I know that's something that can be changed, but the mind is very powerful. And there are many times where I will doubt myself or feel negative about a situation. And honestly, when I get into it's not so bad these days, but especially in the past, when I did feel a lot of scarcity around things, or I was being really negative, more bad things kept happening to me. Or something would pop up, like another expense would pop up, or I would get injured, like physically injured in my body. And it was just this snowball of bad things happening. But on the flip side of that, if you're in like a state of flow and just like positive energy, good vibes, you are doing things that make you happy, it's the opposite. You know, and it may not be huge things, but these tiny little things, you get like an unexpected check in the mail, you get the job, you know, like there's a new client signs up, like you get all these things, and it's like, oh, that's right. I'm putting this energy out there and it's coming back to me. So I do believe in the law of attraction because I do believe in like energy. I've literally experienced this. It's just not something that I heavily like practice or focus on, and maybe I should. I don't know. How do y'all feel about this? I really like her message, but I think the thing that's often missing from people who talk about law of attraction are specific examples. So they say these things, but I'm the type of person who needs examples. So I'm going to give you one for her situation, like how she was talking about feeling secure in what you have, or basically you have to prove to yourself, find ways to prove to yourself that you are not in like a scarcity situation. So for example, there's a roof over my head. I paid my bills this month, last month, the month before. I have not gone into debt since I've paid off my debt. My net worth increased from June to July. I'm able to travel multiple times in the year. I'm able to buy groceries for myself. I'm able to buy groceries for other people, for my family, to host people at my home. I am able to buy gifts for my loved one. Like there's all these things that it's like you're not living in that experience that you're feeling. You are just thinking that way. I could go deeper down into that, but hopefully that was helpful to where it's like you need to feel a certain way about it and prove to yourself so that you can stop those thoughts. And I need to work on this myself, you know? All right, I'm glad we did this video because that just kind of shifted things in my brain by doing that.
If I wanted to be rich in my 20s or 30s, which I am a 25-year-old millionaire, here are the only 3 things that I would be focusing on until you hit that mark. Number 1, I wouldn't be saving. I would not be focusing on saving money. And this is such a trap that people get into. And if you've asked anyone who's like middle class, upper middle class, like the Poor Dad version of like the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, in which like they went to college and they followed the rules and they have a 9 to 5, maybe they make $100 to $200K a year. They're telling you to save money. That is not going to get you to $1 million in your 20s, because obviously it's eating avocado toast in Starbucks is not what is making you in the financial situation that you're in. You just simply don't have enough money coming in, and then you can afford to eat all the Starbucks and avocado toast that you want. And so instead of focusing on being frugal and budgeting and like cutting down on expenses, we need to figure out how to make more money. And that brings me to the second thing. When you're looking for ways to make more money, you need to be very discerning and figure out what lifestyle If I wanted to be rich in my 20s or 30s, which I am a 25-year-old millionaire, here are the only 3 things that I would be focusing on until you hit that mark. Number 1, I wouldn't be saving. I would not be focusing on saving money. And this is such a trap that people get into. And if you've asked anyone who's like middle class, upper middle class, like the Poor Dad version of like the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, in which like they went to college and they followed the rules and they have a 9 to 5, maybe they make 1 to 200K a year. They're telling you to save money. That is not going to get you to $1 million in your 20s, because obviously it's eating avocado toast in Starbucks is not what is making you in the financial situation that you're in. You just simply don't have enough money coming in, and then you can afford to eat all the Starbucks and avocado toast that you want. And so instead of focusing on being frugal and budgeting and like cutting down on expenses, we need to figure out how to make more money. And that brings me to the second thing. When you're looking for ways to make more money, you need to be very discerning and figure out what lifestyle you want and make sure that the option you choose to make money is conducive to the lifestyle that you want to have in the future. For me, I wanted to be a stay-at-home Range Rover Pilates wife, okay? I wanted to be able to be there and be present for my kids and not have to miss moments, so I needed something with few work hours. I also wanted to be able to have the freedom to travel and to give, and so I wanted something with an uncapped earning potential and something that was not going to tie me down to any sort of brick and mortar physical location. And so for me, that crossed out anything dealing with physical products or dealing with having a store. That crossed out anything that dealt with like management and staff, because again, I didn't want to build an empire. I wanted to live a soft life, but still be able to live in luxury and make tons of money while helping other people. So I chose course creation. You choose whatever works for you. But when you get that business model, the third thing that you are going to do is invest. I'm not talking about your 401k or your Roth. I'm talking about investing in courses, coachings, trainings from people who actually know what they're talking about, who have the lifestyle that you want to have and are living it, and learn from them how to actually do that yourself. That'll be the best money you spend, because right now I make over $100,000 a month working 10 hours a week. And so my time is roughly worth $2,500 an hour. And so all of the time that I wasted, which was about 2 years trying to figure things out myself before I finally purchased a program, that is literally millions of dollars that I could have made. Not only millions of dollars, but the same people that you want to share those experiences with right now may not be around 2 years from now or 5 years from now when you finally figure it out. And so you're either going to pay with your money or you're going to pay with your time. You are either going to pay someone else to make it faster for you to get that end result, or you can go and look at free resources and fragment information and eventually figure it out and hope that the people you want to spend that time with, hope that you didn't miss moments that were too important when you finally figure it out yourself. If you do these 3 steps and you do them for at least a year, meaning that you follow that program, you listen to that mentor and do what they tell you to do, then you will be successful and you will have a 6 to 7 figure business in as little as a year. I was able to build my 7-figure business in 8 months by following these steps. So if you're interested in a training that teaches you how to do course creation, that enables you to be able to stay at home with your kids, quit your job and replace your income, I have a free training on my page.
All right, so I'm going to keep this one in here, mostly because I think this is where, because I agree with some of the things she's saying here. I'm huge on budgeting. I'm huge on saving, on not being frugal. I wouldn't say I'm frugal, but I think that is sometimes a necessity. And I think it is very important to have those habits, because if you are not good with a low amount of money, you're not going to be good with $1 million. Okay. So having those little habits matters. And I think the saving, the budgeting, the paying down debt, all of that is important. So I'm going to say no to that one thing. Her business, she said she does course creation. I don't know what that means exactly, but anytime I have a course. I don't really promote it. I have a course on like how debt-free blueprint is what it's called. So it's basically what I teach in coaching, but you can do it on your own. I never really promote it because I feel icky to promote a course. And I think a lot of times people buy courses with this like expectation to change their life and they don't even complete it. So people are just buying courses and it sits there. So there's spending money on nothing basically, because they're probably not going to complete it. And so automatically when I hear this, the way that she's selling this, she's a seller. She makes it sound convincing of like, okay, yeah, I should do this. She has a free training. I should do that. Now what's going to happen is you're going to get into this free training and she's going to sell to you. She's going to sell one of these courses that teaches how to sell courses to make money. And so just be really careful with these things, because a lot of the people who are wealthy, it's because they sold courses on how to build wealth, you know? And it's for most people, it's not going to work. The other thing I wanted to say here was not everybody can be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. So if you are the person who's making 40K, 50K, 60K, whatever amount that it is in the year, you may not want to be an entrepreneur, and that is completely fine. You may not want to be a content creator. None of these things. That doesn't appeal to you. You just want to work at your desk job. You want to be a nurse, whatever it is that you want to do. That is perfectly fine. And in order for you to get to building wealth, you have got to lower your expenses to a place that's reasonable, budget, track your spending, and fit in the things that make you happy in your life. But also, as you get pay increases, as you get bonuses, if you do have any side hustles, invest that money. And that's how you're going to build wealth. Like, there's no secret to it. And yeah, you just don't have to listen to these things. Not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur.
Here are the 4 fastest ways to truly build wealth. And number 4 is going to be the most important. This year, I'm over 400,000. The year before, so 2023, my salary was about half that. It was somewhere around like the lower 200 range. The year before that, it was half of that. So we're somewhere around the like $100,000 range, right? So essentially each year I was doubling my salary. And so I'm going to give you some tips on how you can double your salary or the fastest way to increase wealth. Number 1, you need to be engaged in constant learning. Instead of watching TV, turn on a YouTube video where you can learn a new skill, or just turn on a YouTube video about someone teaching you something, or turn on a YouTube video, someone teaching you financial tips, right? So instead of watching Netflix or whatever, YouTube, podcast, whenever I had a long drive, and literally even if I didn't have a long drive, if I was just driving to work, I would be listening to a podcast. And I can tell you guys some of my favorite YouTube channels and podcasts, just let me know, right? But constant learning, engaging in constant learning, because when you're doing that, ideas are going to pop into your head. Ideas are going to pop into your head, and you're going to start to see your life and finances change. Number 2, change your environment. And I'm not just talking about your physical environment, like who you surround yourself with, but that is important, but also online, right? Follow the people who are going to be encouraging you or helping you or giving you advice on how to improve your life. So you literally need to curate your feed. This video and me is a good start, right? But who else are you following? Are you just following like gimmicks or like just like things that aren't really going to help you progress in your life? And I think a little bit of that obviously is fine. You want to have fun, you want to laugh, all that good stuff, but also follow people who you can learn from. Follow people who are helping you do something that you want to do that can progress you towards the goals you are trying to reach, right? So curate your environment in real life and also online. And the third thing, I know I said the fastest way to build wealth, but actually knowing that it takes time, right? Knowing that it does take time to build, right? So I just gave you 3 years, but it's still the fastest way, even though it does take time, if that makes sense, right? Unless you're like winning the lottery or getting a huge inheritance, right? And so number 4, probably one of the biggest things that people are not willing to do, and it's you have to be willing to invest. You just have to be willing to invest. That's investing in your life. That's investing in your future. So for me, I hired coaches. I paid money to hire coaches to help me get to where I am. I knew my goal. I had a plan. I had it written out, and I was serious about hiring people who could help me to get there, right? And that's something that a lot of people just kind of skip. And so then they get discouraged or they don't reach their goals when you can hire someone to get there. So that's one way of investing, is hiring coaches. But also another way to invest is also like what I talked about already. Buy books, podcasts, pay to go to conferences, pay to go to events. Just invest in yourself in multiple different ways. And when you're doing these things, make sure that you have a plan. I already posted a video on why it's so important for you to have a plan, but you have to have a plan for how you're going to reach your goal, and it does need to be specific.
Okay, so I like these tips. I like what she has to say. And I kind of want to go back to the last woman who was speaking, who also encouraged the same thing as like step 4, where it's like you invest into a program, invest into a coach to teach you these things so you can learn faster. I agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, I'm a coach myself. I help people to pay down debt, budget, save, all the things. And I've heard time and time again from my clients like, oh, this is so worth it, or this is making so much sense in my brain. Like, I'm so glad we're working together, which like that is so powerful. I love to hear that, and I absolutely want to work with more people, right? But things can be done on your own. And I think you should try things on your own at first and not necessarily invest a lot of money into working with somebody or into a program, especially if you're not. So aside from like financial coaching, that's a little bit different. But let's say you want to learn about how to build a website or something, right? So before investing into a $2,000-$3,000 course on how to build websites and learn how to code and all these different things, I think you should do those things for free on your own first. Like watch YouTube videos, read books, whatever it is that you want to learn from that, and try it out for yourself for some time and see that you actually want to do it. Because what if you're like, I hate this at the end of the day and I just put $3,000 into this and now what? So just invest slowly, I would say, is my suggestion with that. Same goes with coaches. Like if you are trying something, and this is what I see with my clients a lot. Sometimes I get an email from a client and it will be like February and they ask me a question about my spreadsheet or whatever it may be. And I respond, and then they go and try to work on things on their own. But then they end up booking coaching with me. And I'll ask like, oh, what made you end up booking this call with me? And they'll say, I was trying on my own and like nothing was changing. Like I need the accountability. I need the guidance. I am overwhelmed by things. And so I like that. I like that they tried on their own to begin with. And they're like, this isn't working for me. I know that I need to put my money into somebody so that they can guide me and push me through things. So that's kind of my thought process with programs, with coaches, anything like that. But otherwise, investing in yourself is great. Just do it slowly and make smart choices around that. Because the reality of it is the bulk of the stuff that you want to learn about, building wealth, starting a business, even just advancing in your career, you can find it for free online. Everything else she said, though, is great. If you can't control the people in your life, like maybe you're in a home situation where people are really negative or they spend a lot of money or they're just not doing anything with their life, or that could even be your friend group. One, you can get away from those friends if you can control that, that's good. But with things like family, that can be harder. Or if you're like under the age of 18 and still living with parents, that's more difficult. Or in a situation where money's tight and you just can't be on your own right now, you can surround yourself with audio. That's exactly what I did. I had a lot of negative thoughts when I was in school. I didn't want to be there. I had a lot of negative thoughts when I was working at my first real career outside of college. So I would force myself to listen to positive things. I was listening to Tony Robbins, to Gary Vee, to any sort of motivational mixes. I was listening to Dave Ramsey so I could hear people paying off debt, and it was motivating me. And also just surrounding myself with positivity. So it was me learning about money. I would listen to Choose FI, podcasts, all of these different things. I even knew a lot of the information. Like I knew everything I needed to know about paying off debt, but I still kept listening to people who were telling their story of paying off debt because it kept me motivated and in the right mindset. So that is very, very powerful. You may not be able to control the people in your life to a certain extent, but you can control what you can consume. And yeah, a lot of people watch, they binge watch Netflix on a daily basis or YouTube. And of course, it's completely fine for you to do that here and there, but don't make it like while you're getting ready, before bed, on your lunch break, like all of these times that you're just consuming crap on the internet when you could be doing stuff to improve yourself, and it will help you to build your wealth. You'd be surprised. Financial habits, healthy habits, fitness habits, like all these different things, they're all related and they compound together. Let's watch a couple more.
Okay, let's talk fast finance. 1, assign your money a job before you spend it. Every dollar needs a purpose. Wandering money just disappears. 2, have a money day every week or every other week. I know life is busy, but if you do not schedule your finances, it will not get handled. 3, separate your soft life fund from your emergency fund. One protects your peace, the other protects your lifestyle. 4, know your top 3 money metrics: net worth, monthly burn, your savings rate. You don't need a fancy degree to do this. 5, build a bare minimum budget. If everything were to fall apart, how much will it cost you to cover the basics? This number matters. 6, stop using your checking account as a scoreboard. A high balance doesn't always necessarily mean financial freedom. You want to elevate, get crafty and strategic about your money, aka investments. Now 7, learn to say no even when you can afford it, okay? Discipline is not a form of punishment, it's protection. 8, track your emotional spending triggers. Are you spending because you're sad, bored, trying to prove something? Know your patterns. 9, buy luxury out of overflow, not from obligation. We don't perform success, we embody it. And 10, treat your finances like a business. Income, expenses, strategy, goals. You are the CEO of your life, so act like it. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Smart girls have systems, so make sure you build yours.
Systems are great. So she reminds me, first of all, of Tyra Banks in that movie where she's like a Barbie. I forget what it's called. I think Lindsay Lohan is in it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I swear she wears an outfit like this. The doll becomes like a real life human, and it's played by Tyra Banks. But anyways, great quick little tips for you. I don't know what a soft life fund is. I'm intrigued. I'll have to look into that. I love the idea of money dates. That's for people who don't find spreadsheets or money, any of this stuff to be fun, but hopefully eventually it does become fun for you. If you have those weekly money dates with yourself where you're checking in on your spending, kind of just evaluating things, make it fun. Have your cup of tea, put on some candles, put on some like lo-fi music with the, you have the little fireplace on the TV, whatever you need to do to make it more exciting and make it a part of like your self-care routine. I think for me, I just really enjoy finances, so I'll just log in whenever, like it's a regular thing. But these are great, simple tips.
I'm 27 years old, I built a 7-figure net worth, and no, I'm not a trust fund baby. Here's how I 30x'd my net worth in just 6 years. The number one factor was studying computer science in college and getting a high-paying job that paid me over $200K right after graduation. I grew up in a low-income household and was very money-conscious growing up, so I wanted to optimize for a major that required the least amount of schooling, the least amount of debt, with the highest pay opportunity that would allow me to support my parents in the future. And the second biggest factor is I make it a habit to not only save, but also invest a chunk of my paycheck every single month into the stock market. It's no secret that the US has faced an enormous amount of inflation over the last century, so it's not just about earning a lot of money, it's also about saving and investing your money. Let me show you an example. If you had just stored your money in a checking account for the past 5 years, your money would have actually lost 20% of its purchasing power due to inflation. But if you had invested that money into the stock market instead, it would have grown over 90%. I didn't learn much about personal finance growing up, and if you didn't either, don't worry, it's never too late to get started.
So unfortunately, with this situation, most of us made not the wisest decision when we went to college. I mean, I wouldn't say I have a biology degree, 2 biology degrees, and I often say, like, if I could go back in time, I would change to computer science. And people often ask, like, oh, why not biology? Biology is great if you are pre-med, or if you do want to do research. I did research for a few years, but you're not going to make like crazy amount of money. But it takes time to get to that anyway. But yeah, I would have gone into computer science had I known like where the world was going. Nowadays, I feel like people can probably choose a better major, but it's just hard. It's hard to figure out what you want to do at the age of 18. But yeah, had I gotten into Salesforce back in 2012, when I graduated college, it was 2015, 2016. So getting into Salesforce then would have been a game changer for my finances. But at the same time, I ended up in the situation that I've learned all that I've learned because of school, like where I ended up after college. So yeah, we can look at things from different perspectives, right? So her first piece of advice is good for, well, it's not even advice, it's just what she did. It's good for people who are going into college or who are considering going back to college, which I really wouldn't recommend, These days, you don't need to go to school to make a lot of money. And then investing. Investing's the next one. So yeah, let's go to another one.
These are the 4 money habits that most people are making that are keeping them broke and how to fix them. Hi, if you're new around here, my name is Dom. I'm a 28-year-old remote software engineer living in Washington, D.C., and I like to make content all about money and financially conscious lifestyle content. So if that interests you, definitely give me a follow, a like, and share this video with somebody who you think will help. Number 1, you're paying yourself last. And by paying yourself, I mean putting money aside for either your long-term or even short-term goals, things like buying a house, retirement. And I tended to do this a lot when I first got out of college, and I noticed that my discretionary spending would increase a lot throughout the month because I felt like I had the money to do so, when in reality, I just wasn't setting aside money for myself. Go ahead and eliminate this problem by setting aside a portion of each of your paychecks into retirement savings or any other goal-based savings account before you do anything else with it. that. Number 2, your finances are disorganized and all over the place. A clear indication of this is your bills not being paid on time, constant overdraft fees, or limited or non-existent savings. To fix this, you need to start budgeting so that you can see what money you have coming in each month and what money you have going out. Now, I like to manually budget using a Google spreadsheet because I think it keeps me more intentional about my purchases, and the exact template that I use is available for download in my link in bio. But even something as simple as writing down your monthly income and your monthly bills on a piece of paper is a great first step. Third thing is not investing your money. One thing's for sure, to grow your money and to build real wealth, you're gonna have to start investing. Saving money is one thing and it's great, but if you don't invest it, you're only gonna get so far. First, you're gonna take advantage of any employer-sponsored retirement accounts, especially if they offer a match. And then next, you're gonna go watch my other videos on all the other investment accounts that are out there for you, and you'll figure out which one is the best one for your individual goals. And the fourth one is the one that we've all been guilty of at some point in our lives: living beyond your means, or keeping up with the Joneses, whatever you want to call it. Signs of living above your means are things like only being able to pay the minimums on your debts each month, not being able to save any money, and living paycheck to paycheck. The most important tip for living within your means is to understand your cash flow, and the best way to do this is by tracking your expenses each and every month. Listen, all in all, developing good money habits takes time and consistent effort, so
Yep, love it. I'm going to stop there. Those are some amazing practical tips, and she sounds a lot like what I say. And again, we saw invest your money. And really it comes down to making that a priority, doing those things first before, you got to pay your bills and stuff, but get that out of the way. Pay your bills, but also get the investing or the saving or the extra debt payments out of the way before you go and do personal spending. And that may require you to increase your income. But I think that's like the biggest takeaway here is like increase your income, invest your money, pay attention to your finances and build better habits around it, and rinse and repeat. Like it's literally it just takes time. And building wealth, for me anyway, it's something that is just slowly happening, and eventually it will start to speed up. And I am working on increasing my income without going crazy by hustling and posting a video every day and having clients every second of my day. I want to be sustainable. I do want to live a life that is flexible and something that I enjoy. This was the whole point of me becoming self-employed, to live slow-fi, live a slower life. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful. I found it really helpful. I feel a lot more positive after watching that and just like hearing all of these things, and just kind of feel reassured with my thought process around things. Like I was thinking a lot of negative things, but it's like, you know what? I have so much more control here, and even with my thoughts, like I can shift those things. These aren't things that are stuck or fixed. I can change how I'm thinking about things, look at things from a different perspective, and that only creates positive outcomes. Again, I appreciate all the suggestions. I will get to basically all of the topics eventually. But if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed if you are not already. I really appreciate it. It supports my channel. I think I already said it, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.